So how faithful are you? Take the Faithful Citizenship quiz and you'll get an answer right away. Catholics are called to be faithful citizens because we don't want to be called unfaithful citizens. We don't have anything better to do. It looks great on your resume. It's a response to our baptismal call. The answer is, it's a response to our baptismal call. You know, we're called to be faithful citizens really as part of our baptismal call. It's what it means to be a Catholic. It's even in the Catechism that just according to whatever our place in life, to work as hard as we can for the common good. And that means in every area of our life, in church, out of church, in politics, and everything that we do, we look as Christ would look at what is the common good and how can we bring life and love into this place. The Catholic Church is involved in politics because we have nothing better to do. We're just really curious what happens when religion and politics do mix. We love going to Washington, D.C. We want to defend human life and protect the weak and vulnerable. The answer is we want to defend human life and protect the weak and vulnerable. The Catholic Church is involved in politics to begin with because it's our duty to protect human life, to defend the weak, the vulnerable. It's a lot of times those who don't have a strong voice that we stand up for. It was very significant for me in a couple of times that I was around Pope John Paul II to see him stand next to President Clinton, stand next to President Bush, stand next to these huge political figures, and neither agree nor disagree completely with either one. It wasn't about taking sides in politics. It was about standing for what's right. And that's what he did constantly. That's what we're called to do. And that's the voice we're called to be, simply to stand up and to be an advocate for what is right and what God calls us to be and how we're called to live. Which of these issues would not likely be of interest to a faithful citizen seeking support for human life and dignity? Ending abortion and euthanasia, avoiding war and promoting peace, ending use of the death penalty, advocating for an all-night donut shop nearby. Well, hopefully you got this one right, and I love donuts, but the correct answer is advocating for an all-night donut shop nearby. You know, when Jesus calls us to love our neighbor, that has global dimensions, and the call to stand for the dignity of human life and for justice and to alleviate poverty in this world, that's loving our neighbor. They may live a little bit far away, but that's loving our neighbor. But what's important in this question is recognizing that there are lots of different things that are important to us. There are some that are essential to us, and it's essential to protect the dignity of human life. If you think about that, what it means to respect the dignity of every human life, then you know that abortion does not respect the dignity of every created human life. When you really look at it that way, it's the love of human life and the respect of the dignity of human life that we would hold those positions and be willing to stand in public for them. A well-formed conscience is needed in order to graduate from college, complete your road test, get a date, do what is good while shunning what is evil. The answer is, do what is good while shunning evil. As Catholics, it's our obligation to form our conscience well, and that helps us to do good and to shun evil. It helps us to see what God is calling us to. You know, your conscience is not rationalizing whatever it is that you wish you could do. That's not forming your conscience. Forming your conscience is really listening to the voice of God in your heart and listening to God calling you and tugging you to what is good. And it is standing up for those things and living those things every day when it takes courage and when there's people around us that also believe it. Both times, that's allowing your conscience to form you and to guide you. The moral framework for faithful citizenship is based on rules developed by members of a secret society, the wisdom gleaned from grandparents over the last 100 years, an undecipherable code created by a supercomputer, the central themes of Catholic social teaching. Another really tough one. The answer is the central themes of Catholic social teaching. You know, what guides us is the central themes of Catholic social teaching. Those are based very much scripturally and in the tradition of our church and in the teaching of our church of how we live out our faith. It's about being where God calls us to be and being willing to stand up for that. Our church guides us and leads us, and we have heroes all along the way and so many saints who have stood for what is right and have lived it, and we're called to live it in the same way.